Hey guys, welcome to Donkey's World. This is the dark side of the ring, breaking the cycle, Graham Dynasty. Both Eddie and Mike Graham gossip. Sadly ended their own lives. Mike Graham's son did the same thing less than 2 years before Mike did. It turns out that Eddie Graham's father had taken his own life, and Eddie Graham's brother had taken his own life. So it's a cycle of depression and suicide. It is these things run in families because depression tends to run in families, alcoholism tends to run in families, which was a big factor in what they did. So, matter of fact, Eddie Graham wrote a check for $8 and change to a liquor store to get alcohol, and on a check on the left it says for FOR, and he wrote peace of mind, and then on the right you sign it. How sad is that? You're so deep into depression and alcoholism that that's your peace of mind. Unfortunately, Mike also found his peace of mind at the bottom of the bottle. I like how they said that Mike Graham, had an illustrious career or whatever, but no, actually he didn't. He was well known because of who he was, but he was, and I guess he had a successful career in championship wrestling from Florida, but anywhere else he went, he really didn't. I mean, yes, he's a talented wrestler. Was a talented wrestler. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, he never got any big pushes anywhere. You know? So to say that is a bit inaccurate outside of Florida. Kevin Sullivan was on it. Mike Graham's daughter, the wife of Eddie Graham's kayfabe brother, the widow, his kayfabe brother. When I say kayfabe, I mean on screen. They weren't brothers, but on screen they were. Dr. Graham. Anyway, was on there. Let's see who else. B. Brian Blair, Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette does most of them because he's such a historian. Am I missing someone? No, I think that's it. B. Brian Blair was awesome. Mike's daughter was heartbreaking. The whole thing was heartbreaking, you know. They did show old interviews, like shoot interviews with Mike Graham from before his death. Well, obviously, clips of those, and both video and audio clips of them. And Mike's daughter went to the Armory, the Florida version of the Sportatorium, because it's also called the Sportatorium. And there's this big, it's like a big poster sign thing under glass in the hallway about championship wrestling from Florida. And she said that Dean Malenko, the son of the great Malenko, had helped put it together. That was the only mention of him. Only mention of the great Malenko. I'm like, their feud catapulted the Florida territory. And later they became business partners in the Florida, in the Florida territory. Dean and Mike grew up together. I just do not understand how Dean Malenko wasn't a part of it and how that wasn't a part of it. It's one of the things that absolutely blew up the Florida territory. And they talked about how, now I could be wrong here, but they talk about how he made Dusty Rhodes, and how Dusty Rhodes went to Crockett in about '84 and took a bunch of his guys with him and basically killed the territory. Well, I don't know about that. Did Dusty take some guys with him? Yeah, probably, because Dusty was given the booking office in Crockett Promotions. But to say that he made Dusty is a little, that's a stretch too far to me, because Dusty started wrestling back in the 60s and worked his way up through different territories, through Texas, where he's from, and he had been back and forth to Georgia and the Carolinas even before Florida, because he was the NWA champion, for gosh sakes. So yeah, no, he didn't make Dusty. So I patently disagree with that. Dusty made the territory because he made Dusty the top guy in the territory. And when Dusty went full-time with Crockett, yeah, of course it made a difference in the territory, because Dusty was very popular. So, and I know some guys went with Dusty because, like I said, Dusty got the booking office. And if you ever watch old Crockett Promotions stuff, look in the credits. You will see the name Virgil Runnels Jr. That is Dusty Rhodes. He was credited in the credits under his real name. For a reason, I would imagine. That being, fans didn't know about booking and all that stuff at the time. So, to keep with kayfabe, they credited him under his real name. So, yeah. But I think it's a bridge too far to say that he made Dusty. Yeah, he didn't make Dusty. Dusty made Dusty. Anyway, these are my opinions and my opinions alone. Um, I will say that Mike Graham made a smart move because he sold the library of Championship Wrestling from Florida to Vince McMahon Jr. When he started WWE 24/7, which was a subscription service in your cable on demand. Then, recently, maybe about 2 years ago, well, no, then a few years ago, they started the WWE Network, which was its own standalone app on like Roku and stuff like that you paid for. And about 2 years ago, the WWE app moved over to Peacock, which is a surprise to no one who knows the history of the World Wrestling Federation. Because Vince McMahon has always had a good relationship with the Peacock, NBC. They did Saturday night's main events. He just had a good relationship with the network. So putting the two together just made financial sense for both. So, because they were going to get a lot more subscribers to Peacock for that, it made financial sense. And but the Championship Wrestling from Florida, like I said, the library was sold to Vince McMahon, and Mike used to host the shows. I'm sure he got paid handsomely for it, as he should have been paid for it. But when he would like come on in the beginning and tell you which date this was from and what part, he always came across to me as so stuck up and so full of himself. You know, he'd be sitting there in his bathing suit in the sunshine Florida and just full of himself. You know, and maybe it was an act. I don't know, but it didn't go over well with me either way. So, don't get me wrong. I don't think the things that happened with his father, his grandfather, his uncle, and his son should have happened to anyone. I feel terrible that it did. And I think it's wonderful that his granddaughter are doing great. They have a good life. His daughter helps out in a suicide crisis prevention, suicide prevention, and that's wonderful. So it was Nicole that was able to break the cycle. And I just feel terrible that those things happen, but well, no buts. Just I don't want anybody to do what they did. And I mean, if you're thinking of it, there are hotlines. I mean, there are lots of places you can go. Places you can call. You can even just call 911. Please get help. That being said, just because I didn't like him didn't mean I wanted anything to happen to him. I want to make that clear, because I did not. But thank you for joining me. God bless you. Next week, it will be Doink the Clown, Maniac Matt Bourne, who evidently had quite the life. His father, by the way, was Tough Tony Bourne. Worked with Roddy Piper in the Northwest Territory. Don Owens. I think Matt started out up there too. And he went to world class and became Maniac Matt Bourne. And became quite a star in world class. They brought him into WCW as some kind of lumberjack looking guy. I can't remember the name they used. And I remember my father and I sitting there that Saturday night that he came on. He's in handcuffs with these chains, right? And it was like a My Pet Monster thing. He just broke it. And my father and I are looking at each other. I said, "That's Matt Bourne." And my father said, "Yeah, well, he's the only one that could do that." And, or actually, I think he said, "Yeah, he's one of the only guys that could do that." Break the chain on the cuffs. And, because we were both very familiar with Matt Bourne. Later, he became Doink the Clown. But, I'm trying to think of what they called him in WCW. It was like a lumberjack. He had like a plaid shirt and jeans and like a winter hat. They called it a beanie. I'm trying to think. He was a babyface. But I remember we saw him. It was big something, I don't know. And my father and I are both like, "What did they do to him?" Because we knew Maniac Matt Bourne from World Class, and of course my father knew of Tough Tony Bourne. My father was the one that told me that his dad was a wrestler. So it's a little preview of what's coming next week. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe. I will be coming at you tomorrow, sometime, don't know when, and I'm going to go do this very important kid missing video. Bye, guys. Mwah. Remember, if you're having those thoughts, get help. Bye, guys.